G'day and welcome to this week's video. My name is Ashley Rowan and I'm a financial advisor with Consortium Private Wealth. In today's video we're going to be looking at a COVID financial action plan. So some key tips, some key advice into sort of budgeting your way through or managing your finances through a period of isolation due to COVID-19. So this video has come about given that I've only just personally got out of isolation myself, and a few of the ideas and a few of the suggestions I'm going to include in today's video work really well in my situation and my family's situation, so I thought I'd share them with you. So the first key strategy is to maintain your cash flow. So make sure nothing changes from a day-to-day financial living point of view, and some key tips to make sure that you can afford to maintain your arrangements if you're out of the office or out of work for a short period of time is to have an accumulated worth of savings in a separate account. So this may work for some, particularly those who are self-employed and don't have any sick leave entitlements to fall back on. So prior to coming down with COVID, you could essentially put together a bit of a savings plan or a bucket on the side where you could put together a lump sum that can be drawn down on throughout that week to help essentially pay for groceries or maintain your financial arrangements. So accumulate some savings on the side. If need be, that can become a tremendous support. For those who have got sick leave entitlements, make sure you understand what your entitlements are and if you can afford to take an extended period of time off work, whether that be the standard 1 week like we're required to do so at the minute, or even a greater length of time if your symptoms still persist and you're unable to return to work. Failing that, there are some Centrelink benefits you can reach out to if you don't have any of those other benefits to fall back on. So if you can't work and earn income, you can look to Centrelink, and in particular the pandemic leave disaster payment. You cannot get this payment, unfortunately, if you're already getting an income support payment, or if you have appropriate leave entitlements, you're asked to sort of lean on those methods first. The next tip is to ensure you have sufficient supply. So this can be done prior to contracting COVID. So whilst you're still healthy and able to go out and about into the stores, into the supermarket, you can stock up on long life groceries, for example, have some long life milk up in the cupboard with pasta, snacks, or whatever it may be. For personal hygiene products, you can stock up on toilet paper and other essentials, and medication. So this could be Panadol or cold flu tablets or whatever would ease your symptoms and make you feel a little bit better. Personally, my symptoms were just a splitting headache and inability to maintain a constant temperature for the first few days. Following that, these symptoms were rather mild. So in those first 2 days, having access to a bit of Panadol certainly helped out. Now, the third tip I have for everyone is to ensure that you have a good support network around you for your time in isolation. And that could essentially be someone who can pick up some groceries if need be. And what I've found is the click and collect opportunities through our major supermarkets and other department stores are actually excellent. I'd never used them prior, but the first time I used them was in isolation. I had someone who was able to be in a position to collect some groceries for me, so I was very fortunate in that respect. The only tip I've got, the actual the method where you're online and creating a shopping cart, it was a little bit, there was a few errors and I had to refresh the page a few times. So getting some experience initially, so prior to needing to utilise the service through lockdown, it could be very beneficial. So if you're doing your regular shop, maybe test out the click and collect method by purchasing some fresh produce or whatever it may be, just a small shop. A lot of people will do their grocery shops over multiple different stores, so maybe just test the click and collect method just to get used to the whole process of shopping online, creating the cart and going through the payment system, through to the collection method. So you may have to explain that process to someone who's providing that support. So click and collect groceries and having someone is a tremendous support while you're in isolation. Also having a key person who has the ability to run some errands for you. So if there's any bills to be paid, for example, or any jobs to be done, having that support person is very helpful. And lastly, do regular check-ins with those who are concerned about your health and give them a bit of an update with where you're at and what support you need. So that support network becomes very handy, particularly in those times where you're reliant on these individuals. The next key strategy or key point is keep yourself occupied. Obviously, you're in isolation for at least a week. There are some days where you don't feel like doing anything at all due to your symptoms. Obviously, it's different case by case, but I'm just referring to the process that I went through. But there were some days where I felt very well, and the symptoms were very mild. So in times of that, I was very keen to do a bit of work or do some activities, whatever it may be. So in that case, obviously, depending on how you're feeling, you want to be keeping yourself busy. And to do that, and particularly with families with kids who may also be in isolation, what I would suggest, and this was the case with my family, we stocked up previously on games and activities. So there's only so much sort of television the kids will watch before they become bored. So having access to colouring books or painting supplies or crafting supplies, it was very helpful. So we had some set aside up in the cupboard, which we pulled out and kept the kids occupied. Another thing to keep yourself busy during those days you're feeling better is a great opportunity to look at certain tasks that you may have been putting off. Now, this could be anything between reviewing your personal insurances or home and contents or home insurance to see if there's better offers out there. The whole process is fairly easy. You can obviously make some phone calls while you're at home to certain insurance companies to help you with that process, but you may have a little bit of time up your sleeve where you can actually finally sit down and review existing policy to see if you're still getting the most cost-effective policies available out in the market. So set some time aside to do that. Not only insurances, but you may look to bring out a superannuation statement and review that in terms of how it's been performing. These are things that get put aside, put in the top drawer to do later projects. So now's a perfect opportunity to look into these things. So review your insurances, have a look at your super funds. The super funds can be reviewed in terms of what are the fees, what are the performance, how are your contributions going, and sort of understanding your policies on a greater level. You may wish to take the opportunity to create a household budget. Not many people have a household budget in place, but now that you've got a little bit of time up your sleeve, it could be a great time to visit that and put together the budget so to track and monitor your spending on an ongoing basis and create a bit of a savings plan if need be. And finally, most people have a mortgage or some form of debt. Are you getting the best rate? Interest rates are just starting to increase, so there's no better time to actually look what else is available out there and review to see if you're getting the best deal possible. The final hints and tips or strategies I've got for you is a personal one. It is just to keep on top of your personal health and well-being. Obviously, having COVID is nothing that should be ignored. Obviously, many people get better quickly and don't have too much issues, but some people may suffer at a greater level and have more severe symptoms than others. So what I would suggest is to keep in regular contact with your family and friends, to keep them up to date with how you're tracking and what you need. If symptoms sort of get a little bit worse, make sure you have the contact details of your doctor handy, or even the nurse on call. If you have any concerns about your own health or if things start to deteriorate, make sure those numbers are readily available, that in times where you do actually need to, or if you need to make these calls, you're not sort of worried and searching around and unable to find these details. Finally, ensure that you have appropriate or ambulance cover in place. Make sure that's all set up in case you do need a trip to the hospital, you need to call someone. It's always best to have that insurance in place front end, otherwise it may be an expensive venture down the track. So insurance, doctor's numbers on standby, and keeping your family and friends up to date. So it's all about your personal health and well-being. Make sure you're being looked after, looking after yourself as well. So those are my 5 key tips after personally dealing with COVID and lockdowns myself. I hope the information was valuable, and thanks for watching the video and stay safe.